We offer two main lines of business. One is the Moodle Learning Management System, which brings us all here today. We also offer Nexus, a school information system that's fully developed in-house. And we offer services surrounding these lines of business, which include education and training, deployment, customization, branding, maintenance, consulting, service, and 24/7 support. And some new exciting announcements involve mobile development, content development, and integrations, the one that we are having here tonight. This morning, apologies. It's my night here in Colombia, but it's good to greet you in the morning here. So if you don't know Moodle, uh, I invite you to just learn more about it. You can reach out. We'd love to show you what Moodle can do. But basically, I think Moodle stands out as the LMS around the world for five main reasons. First, because it's free software, but it's cost effective. Well, you know that free software doesn't mean free e-learning, but if you consider these costs, Moodle is usually the most cost-effective solution. Second, is that provides you a data-driven experience when you can really get to the meat of what's happening with your students, how they're behaving, what are the outcomes, how to manage it. It is a social learning experience from its very foundation and its philosophy. It's based on the ability of people learning from one another and helping each other learn. It is a low bandwidth. Even with the mobile app, you can access it fully offline with low computing power required. And that would be all. So you can see Moodle is by far the most popular LMS around the world. So with Nephila Web, we make sure that your LMS is fast and light, is very interactive and engaging, that is branded and reflects your company, your logos, your values, that is completely secure with a private cloud and is compliant with any regulations on data or data privacy requirements, and that is modern. And of course, what brings us here today, that it's integrated. So please reach out to us. We'd love to discuss your e-learning project. You can reach out on our social media. Thank you. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Miss Elena Essiak from Examus. Hi, Elena.
Hi. Hi, Christian. Hi, all. Well, I think I would start by thanking the whole Nephila team because, well, this is a wonderful and not just another wonderful opportunity for me to present Examus to the wide Indonesian audience. And, well, I'm just delighted by this chance. And hopefully I will not get you totally bored today. And I will be able to show you a quick overview of our functionality and service. And please feel free to reach out to our partners, to the Nephila Web technology team, so as to provide you with more information and more details about our partnership and our solution. So can I start presenting?
So yes, please go ahead. So as you may know, we are going live on YouTube and Facebook. You can leave just questions there. Our team is listening and we will be answering. We may be answering live or later on. And of course, you can reach out to us at any time because you're watching this later.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I think I'll start by stopping my video. I would have to do that because the nature of our product will not allow me to show you some aspects of the functionality unless I do. But of course, I will be back with the question and answer session. So let me please share my presentation. Excuse me, just a second. Yep. And yep, here we go. Well, as Christian has already introduced me, I'm Elena and I'm BDM at Examus, which is basically a company that provides AI-based solutions for video analysis. And we're mostly famous for the proctoring solution that has been on the world market for several years already, and which has been well proved and tested across different regions and different types of customers. So what we do is we provide a solution and a service to guarantee that your online learning events and your online exams are taken honestly, and that you can monitor your students or your candidates while they are doing their assessment or just attending a webinar or any kind of seminar that you would like them to be involved in and fully engaged in. So just a few words about the company. Examus has started out in 2015. And so from 2018, we have already been globally operating in different regions. Well, this slide is to provide you with the overview of our geography of operations. And I'm happy to say that right now we are very much focused. We are prioritizing for the South Asian market, and we are lucky to have a lot of partnerships and quite a lot of end customers in the Philippines, in Indonesia, in Vietnam, and in other countries of this region. So we are really looking forward to improving our position there and to really providing the maximum quality of the service. The market segments that Examus deals with is very versatile. So basically that is everything starting from universities, schools and colleges to national platforms of education and MOOC platforms that provide e-learning courses, national-based or even global platforms. We also deal with the enterprise sector because it's quite understandable that right now in the times of the pandemic, a lot of processes within the company like HR, candidate selection, staff assessment, staff development programs, staff training, everything goes online. So our business partners and our customers from the enterprise sector are actively engaging our solution as part of their operation processes. So just to introduce you to the concept of proctoring, for those of you who might not be well familiar with that, actually, it does not add much to the normal workflow of your students or candidates when they are taking any kind of exam online. So first of all, they need to log into their usual platform. And there, when they click Examus, they need to go through the exam rules and just get notified about what is the specificity of the exam, which is being monitored by AI Proctor or AI plus human proctor. Second step, they need to go through the system check to make sure that their hardware and software is totally compatible with our platform and that the exam will not get suddenly interrupted. At the third step, they need to identify themselves, which is basically done in two ways, by taking a webcam photo of themselves and showing their ID in front of the camera, although there might be some specificity to that, which I will deal with later. Then they need to show the working area and then just proceed to the exam. The difference of our solution from other proctoring solutions is that although we also capture the data from the camera and microphone and the desktop of the user, which quite a lot of solutions do, this data is not being processed on the server side. So you do not actually waste this time for data processing while the student is taking the exam. The data is being analyzed right on the browser level, and it's being analyzed by two AIs. One of them is monitoring the students' emotions and engagements and behavior right at the time of exam. The other one will be looking for the use of prohibited devices such as smartphones, headphones, and so on and so forth. And after the exam, you as an LMS admin or the exam organizer will get full information about the exam. First of all, in the form of the full recording, audio and video recording of the exam process, and different kinds of reports that you can use either for analyzing one exam session or analyzing in bulk sessions and the whole exam period. So to introduce you to the basic part of our functionality, I need to tell you about the Cyberproctor, which is our patented AI-based algorithm, that is performing the 4 basic functions that the system performs during the online assessment. The first part deals with user identification, which, as I mentioned, takes place at the initial stage when the user logs into the system. So let's take a look at it a little bit closer. So there are 3 types of user identification that Examus can do. And the first one, which is the easiest one and probably is the most appropriate when you know your candidates and you can check them and their identity by human. So the human needs to identify the student by their webcam photo and the ID which the student shows in front of the webcam just by comparing the 2 images with the human eye. Another way is to do the same, but automatically using our AI algorithms. So the AI is basically collecting the information from the LMS that Examus is installed on, and it's going to compare the image automatically with the person in front of the webcam. And the third one is a more sophisticated variant, but it also involves Examus working in line with any kind of third-party personal database. So if you have a national or a corporate database with biometric information about your candidates or users, in this case, Examus can do the ID verification by automatically compare the information that you have in the database with the person's viewing the webcam and with the document that they show. So this is a more developed version, which probably works best for more serious and high-stake assessments. The second part of the AI is basically preventing cheating attempts while the user is taking the exam, and this is the first and foremost part of the service. So these are the events, or these are the specific user behaviors that our solution can detect. So you can see that while the user is taking the exam, any kind of audio signal is caught and the solution does speech detection. It can also do gaze detection or detect whether the person is alone in the room or there is somebody else perhaps trying to help them with the assessment. The solution can detect the tap change running or the attempts for running other applications. As I mentioned, we are one of the few solutions on the market also detecting earphones and smartphone usage. But let me point out straight away that all these features need to be highly customizable because all kinds of assessments and all kinds of exams that you might do are very different. So what we have, and one of the main advantages of our solution, is that right when creating the exam, or even while you are already doing the trial exams and testing the solution, you can configure and you can fine-tune it to your needs and to your particular exams. So if you would like these kind of behaviors to be, let's say, turned off and on, if you would like to configure the AI behavior and whether you would like it to be more strict or less strict to your candidates, you can do this while you're setting up the exam. So this is something that is on the customer side. The third part of the solution deals with the calculation of the cheating probability, which we call the cheating score. And again, the primary thing is that everything is customizable. So when you create an exam, you can actually set a multiplier. You can specify the value of specific user behaviors for a specific exam. So if you decide that, for example, having wrong gaze direction as one of the key prohibited actions is not relevant to your exam, then you can just bring it to 0. Or if you think that using smartphone is the ultimate crime that your user can commit, then you can just add more value to that, and this will, again, reconfigure the AI behavior. So this lets us to get more accurate and more precise AI-based cheating score calculation that saves you from false positive results and also saves you from some mistakes, which can be just, mere incidents, mere accidents, but not incidents of the assessment. Excuse me, ran out of focus. Yeah, and finally, the last part of the solution, which is also AI-based, is creating reports on the assessment. So as I said, you can configure multiple reports from Examus or directly from your system. This can be either a per session report with all the events for a particular session registered, and not only the events themselves, but also their duration, because I think you might agree that it's quite a different thing when the user has just looked away once or has been looking away for some period of time. And you can also download and configure full exam statistics for a number of sessions, which will include all the parameters that you might need, so as to build graphs, to build tables, and just to understand the general picture of how the assessment within the company went on. So this is the basic part of the service. But as I mentioned, relying too much on AI and basically just working with the automated part of the technology can let you down sometimes, because the AI is something that cannot really understand the difference between what is accidental and what is an incident within the exam. So that is why we always recommend our customers to use human invigilation as another advantage of using our solution. So we have two basic types of proctoring that we offer, plus some other configurable and mixed modes. So we start with post-review or real-time proctoring. The difference is that with the post-review proctoring, the student is being viewed and monitored by the AI, and all the prohibited or suspectively prohibited actions are being recorded, and the system creates alerts on these actions within the system. But after the exam, the human proctor can go to the video archive right from their Moodle instance, if they have one, and they can check the recording, and they can really make the final decision on whether the AI was correct or not in a particular moment. With the real-time proctoring, you have the full exam being monitored by AI and by the human invigilator working in parallel. So the AI is going to create alerts for all the actions, and the human proctor or the human invigilator will need to check them and either confirm or delete the AI actions, so as to have maximum control of the exam. Plus, as I mentioned, you can also rely on the fully automated proctoring when you're doing some in-bulk testing, for example. And you can also have the mixed mode when the candidates are checked into the exam by a human proctor, but then the full exam will go on in post-review mode. So let us see just a glimpse of both options so as to get better understanding of what it is about. We'll start with the post-review proctoring, right in Moodle, of course, when the student gets monitored by AI only. Oops, excuse me. Yeah, here we go. So you can see this is a typical Moodle quiz. And the only thing that Examus adds to that is this right side panel with exam rules, which can be configured, and the video frame where the student can see themselves. And as you see, all the actions that the student takes are being alerted both on their side and on the proctor side. So for example, this is what happens when the student tries to open another tab. And all of these actions will be recorded and then revisited by the human proctor. And this is the example of what it looks like to have real-time proctoring in real life. So you can see that you can have several users per screen monitoring their webcam view and their desktop view at the same time. The human proctor can zoom into a particular session without losing control of the rest if they need to. And here on the right, you have the Cyberproctor's actions, which can be either confirmed or deleted right in the time of exam. The specificity of real-time proctoring is also that the human proctor can communicate with the student by sending them messages, either preset messages or just communicating by typing in some phrases or some recommendations if they need to. The important thing, of course, is that, well, this communication is only limited to the process of exam. So, and again, everything is being recorded. So the student cannot see the proctor. It's just the human proctor viewing the student's actions and If they like, they can even stop the exam for them if the student is, well, cheating heavily or doing something which is extremely prohibitive. With the post review, we don't have this function. So with the post review, you can just let the student do the test and finish the test and be sure that the AI will not kick them out of the session because, well, this would be unreasonable sometimes. And excuse me, looping. Yeah, just passing over to the interfaces. Let me focus more on the Moodle environment that we're talking about today. So Examus is fully integrated with Moodle. I mean, this is not no LTI integration. This is a low-level integration, which means that it brings a lot of benefits to all categories of users. So for the exam admins, for example, and for those who are administering the system within the organization, this means that they do not need to do anything specific. They just need to install the Examus plugin from the Moodle marketplace. This is absolutely free, of course. You just need some assistance from our technical team so as to configure the Moodle, the plugin, excuse me. And then the whole system can be set up and running in no more than 2 hours. For the tutors or teachers, the benefit is that they can set up the exams in Moodle as they're just used to, and then they add or activate the proctoring restriction with the Moodle plugin installed and just add the users to the exam. For the test takers, the greatest benefit is that they do not need to install anything on their personal computer or their, well, with the mobile, there will be, with the mobile, they will have to install the app, but well, this is also very easy. So they don't need to install anything. They just log into their usual LMS with their usual credentials, and then they pause the identification procedure and start the test. Let me quickly show you the process from all 3 different perspectives. So with the exam admins, I think I'll just show you by clicking to the Moodle marketplace, and well, this is the plugin from Examus. You can see it's pretty wide used, and you have all the installation process described here, and of course you can refer to our support services team. So there is nothing specific about that, and well, this is perfectly feasible. So for the tutors view, let me show you how you can configure the exam right from Moodle. So probably I'll just start by logging in to Moodle as an admin. There we go. This is the regular Moodle dashboard. So if I need to create an exam, so let's assume that I have the Moodle plugin already installed. So when I need to create the exam, or when I need to add some more quiz within a particular course, just a second. So I can just edit an already existing test, or I can create, well, let us open the one which is already used. Excuse me. So to create a quiz, I would do this in a normal way. So I would specify the test name, the test description. I can set the timing when this test is going to be available. If I need to restrict it, I can say the time limit for passing the test, and this will be the timer that Examus would take from Moodle. So it means that the Examus session will automatically last just in as much as your Moodle testing session lasts. You can specify the grading, the question behavior, and so on and so forth. So I'm not going to walk you through the Moodle dashboard right now today. The actual Examus thing is that you need to add restriction to a particular test by selecting the Examus plugin here. And here is where you can configure the exam rules, starting by specifying the duration of the session. But again, this will be automatically taken from the Moodle timer, so it will not influence the user's behavior at all, the user flow, excuse me. And this is where I can specify which actions or which materials will be allowed for the student and which will not be taken as violations when the proctor is checking that. So if I click allow to use calculator or allow to use Excel, the respective icons in the exam will be highlighted, which means that, well, this is something that is not prohibited in the exam. So then I click save and return to course. And after that, I'll just start by adding contents to this test, and this is all. So let us now try to see this, well, the same perspective from the student's view. So when I have created the test, what it takes now for the student to pass it. So let me log into Moodle as a student right now. So as a student, I just need to access a course where I have my test or exam. And just because we have activated the Examus restriction, you can see that both options here for the post review or the real-time proctoring will not be available unless I activate Examus first. So this means that it is not possible for the student to open the same link for this test in another window, let's say, and pass this test without proctoring. So when I proceed by the link, I get to the first testing page, and this is a typical Moodle thing yet. So I need to click start, and this is where I get to the 3 steps which I have described. So I need to look through the exam rules. This page is fully customizable. You can put any text in any language and any format here if you need. So the user needs to agree to the rules, then pass the system check. This is just something that you would do for Zoom or Google Meet application, so any kind of video conferencing app that you would use. And as soon as everything is checked and correct, you can just click next. And here I get to the user identification stage. So this will be the most simple option. I just need to take a photo of myself and send it to the server. Well, not the best mine, let it be. Now I have 30 seconds to show the room. So this one can be customized by showing only the desk or the full room span. And just because this is post review, I'm going to be automatically redirected to the test page right now. The difference with the real-time proctoring would be that only the human proctor will be able to let me start the test after I show my workspace correctly and after they are sure of my identity. So with the real-time, with the post-review proctoring, as you can see, all of my actions are being already recorded and monitored, and this is the right side panel that I get. So if this would be the test that we have created, all the icons that would be highlighted would mean the actions which I'm allowed to do. And you can see the Cyberproctor is already working because it's already monitoring my behavior and already creating some alerts, which will be recorded in the system. So, but normally, as I said, the user is not interrupted, and everything that examiners do is just make sure that this test is being recorded and all the user actions are being also checked for being honest. So when I finish the test, I just submit my answers as I typically do. I can make a review, which Moodle allows. And after that, all I need to do is just close the exam window, and this will be the end of my exam. Now, let's get back to the tutors interface and again to the Moodle dashboard. So you can see that it also adds one more section to the typical Moodle menu, which is the Examus log. So the benefit of our solution is that you can set up different user rules. So for instance, if you would like your tutors or your teachers to be able to create exams and then to view the results directly from Moodle, this is what you can do. So I have just created the test, and if I go to the Examus log, I can see all the sessions that have been passed with this Moodle instance, or if you have different campaigns or different courses here, you can actually choose by a specific exam company. So if you would need your teachers to access the results of a particular student, all you need to do is just find the session. Well, let's open something that has not yet been reviewed. There we go. So actually, this is not already a Moodle thing. You are being redirected to the Examus system, but this is available directly from Moodle. So what your teachers or your proctors can do is verify the user behavior during this particular exam session, either by viewing the full recording, but probably this will not be the best way, of course, because your exam can take up to several hours. So our advice is that you start by clicking Show Cyber Alerts, and you can see everything that the Cyberproctor has detected. And as I said, either confirm or delete these alerts. So let's see if this is a correct one. The Cyberproctor has detected forbidden hardware, and here we go. The person is using earphones, so this is something that I can confirm. If I need to add a warning that I think the Cyberproctor has missed, anything that I need to do is just select the particular behavior, like using phone or nonverbal communication, for example. And if I add it to a particular moment, to a particular timestamp here, it will be added to this general timeline. And finally, as a human proctor, I can make my final decision here. So I can decide on which violations have been confirmed by me, like using prohibited software and probably prohibited websites, and set the overall proctoring status, which will be okay or controversial. So if that's controversial, I just click send, and the data has been sent to Moodle. So you can have your teachers or your tutors creating the exams with proctoring right in the Moodle system and assessing and checking, verifying their own exams right from Moodle without getting access to the overall dashboard. So if I get back to Moodle now, so hopefully, well, this was some of these sessions. So if I refresh the page, you can see that this status has been changed from not reviewed to suspicious, just because I have just checked it. And again, you can have your tutors getting details of particular sessions with all the warnings, with all the details of a particular session. Was it successful or not? Was the proctoring status okay or suspicious again? You can view it just directly from Moodle, which gives you the controls over the exam procedure on the tutor's level, on the teacher's level. And finally, the upper part of the system is our dashboard, the admin dashboard, which is available from our website. So let me just quickly walk you through this one, because, well, it has a lot of functionality. I will not be able, of course, to provide you with all the details right now. So first of all, with our dashboard, you can view all the recordings that you have, again, for a particular company or for a particular exam, for a particular day or dates, and so on. So basically, the first part of the dashboard is all the exam recordings that you again can watch and you can analyze, just as I have shown you. And yes, you can also see what is the result of all the sessions. So you can download both the per session report and the general report. So the per session report is available right from the video, like that. Well, this one is a short one, but if this would be a real session, it would be longer, of course. And this is the visual representation of the cheating score. You can see that it's only 9, which means that, the threshold is 80. So this session should definitely pass. Well, if it would be a real session, of course. And well, this is what you can do if you need a general report. So you just need to specify either the company or the dates, some specific fields that you would like to be included in this report. You can show the proctor name, the proctor's full name, so who was checking the session. You can show all the violations created within this particular session or sessions. And when you specify the necessary parameters, all you need to do is generate the report. Well, let me save you time and show you the one which has been previously generated. So if I download it, it becomes available to me as an Excel table. And all I would need to do to make a graph or present the statistics to my employer, for example, is to, well, include all the information that is required from me. Some other functionality of the dashboard includes creating the exams right from here, which you can do directly from Moodle, as I said, when we have integration. But if you need to specify some particular user behaviors, which I mentioned, so you can create the exam right from Moodle and then get to this dashboard. Let me show this to you. So if this is, this should be, I think, the Moodle course. So you can see that if this exam has been already created, all the rules that have been already specified are already here. I can specify additional rules for proctors so that they would know what to look for. And I can also specify the scoring. So just as I mentioned, by adding some specific values to some specific behaviors to get the maximum accuracy of the result. I will not change the existing session, of course. Yeah, and this is the threshold specification. So you can decide how strict the AI would be. So how many alerts, let's say, will be allowed for the student to still have the exam in the OK status, not controversial. So, and actually the functionality of the dashboard, as I said, is huge. So you can view all the sessions which are planned for today. You can create campaigns right from this dashboard. So you can add a company and you can specify how many students you would have in an exam if it's real time. You can specify the name for proctors, reviewers, admins, and basically configure the user roles and so on and so forth. Finally, you can schedule sessions right from here. Scheduling sessions might be necessary if you are dealing with the real-time exams, which means that you need to understand how many users will be involved in a particular moment. But again, with Moodle integration, you can schedule sessions right from the Moodle calendar, which is available from the Moodle interface. So Examus will just take the settings from there. You can add a proctor. You can sign up as a proctor for a specific calendar. So actually, the dashboard is something that deserves a particular introduction, I believe. Yeah. So let me just stop it here so as not to bloat you with the information. And let me get back to the presentation for a few more slides, which is important. Yeah, please feel free to ask me anything about the functionality of the service, because as you understand, yeah, it is not possible for me to provide you with all the details in one session. So getting back to the presentation just for a while, let me also note some of the Examus advantages that we have. So first of all, let me point that we provide the solution, the service, and also the storage for your exam recordings and for the exam data that you need to work with. So Examus can be installed to any kind of server. Right now we have 10 installations, or better say 10 server stacks across the globe. I suppose the closest one to the Philippines would be our Indonesian installation. That is a Google Cloud. So what Examus does is either we dedicate you the necessary capacity on the server that would be enough to support your assessment, and the recordings will be stored just for the time that is requested by the end customer. Typically, that is 30 days. But if you would need your recordings to be fully deleted in 1 week after the exam, this is, of course, perfectly possible. So Examus manages the server side as well. And besides our integration with Moodle, we are already integrated with quite a lot of LMS and testing systems, which are famous across the globe. And if your company is using a closed source, your own LMS or testing system, which is typical for banks and enterprises, we can integrate into an LMS using our open API or work without integration at all. So there are different opportunities to that, actually. Let me point out that we are very careful about user data handling. First of all, as I mentioned, we work only with secured servers and server providers, so you can be 100% sure that there will be no leak or no loss of data whatever. And At the same time, we're trying to keep balance between transparency and security. So you and your users, be it students or candidates, can be 100% sure of what Examus collects and how their data is treated. Because we know this quite well, that a lot of proctoring solutions are heavily criticized for being too invasive and for actually using too much user data. So this is something that we do not do, because if we're talking about Examus plus Moodle, as I have shown you, Examus does not collect any information from Moodle except for the user's email, which is used for the user's video identification in the archive. And generally storing the exam data, which I said we just store, but the customer has control of. So we really work very closely with international standards for IT services compliance. So we are GDPR compliant in Europe, and we're also compliant with several professional standards like ISO 27001. We're compliant with the FERPA and the other Act in the US, so we are accessible to all categories of users, and we are really open to actually, basically, Examus is very it takes a lot of settings from the LMS. So basically, Examus does not make it more difficult for a user to pass the exam, except for adding a few more stages in the beginning. As for other advantages, we can provide a professional proctoring team in case the customer would need that. So in case our partner or customer would like to provide the first line of the support themselves, then we can provide the training for the customer's employees so that they would have more control over the overall exam process. Should they need help from a professional team, then we can provide support based on their time zone and allocate the necessary resources so that their users will be taken care of. We have very easy and user-friendly interfaces and the possibility to localize it in different languages. So you can even see it actually from our dashboard. We already have support of more than 15 languages, and this tag is being extended all the time. We also have a special solution for providing verbal examinations. So if you are thinking about doing a candidate interview or an oral exam, then we can provide our own special solution for that. And yes, so basically you have control that your exam will not be passed without proctoring technology, because the AI part of the solution makes this inherent check as long as the user is taking the exam. So we are checking that this is still the exam passed with our proctoring protection. And yes, so we have also very extensive user support, which is divided between the server support, the student support, and the customer partner support. So we have 3 levels of SLA with minimum resolution time and minimum response time in case any incidents happen. So this is something that we appreciate a lot, and thanks to our partnerships, including the Nephila team as well, our partners are doing a great job in also supporting the customers, both with configuring the service and with having their examinations done. And finally, well, we are the very customizable product in terms of customer policies and product policies. So we always provide trial exams and pilot projects, proof of concept. This is typically something between 500 and 1,000 proctoring hours provided for free after our system is integrated, because, this is the best way that you can set up the service to your needs and be 100% sure that we can provide you with the quality service that answers that answers your basic requirements. We always provide 1 trial exam plus 1 second attempt for free, because first of all, this is something that is right to the user. And well, this is something that sometimes is needed because well, it's difficult to manage in bulk exams. Sometimes something can go wrong, yeah, and the user just needs to have a session, another session to pass the test. We support projects from 25 to 25K exam takers, really. So we do not, prioritize for big or medium projects. So if this is something that is within a fewer number of test takers, we can still, and we will be surely able to provide the service that is within your budget and that is within that is basically within your scale of assessment. We have flexible pricing options, as I said, and here is where we we actually proceed from the customer's budget again, and we proceed from what is the overall scale of assessment. We can provide our own support team and guidance, and finally, what we have, thanks to our international experience, we are well familiar with culture-sensitive aspects. So if in case you would need a specific division of your candidates between proctors or between sessions, this is something that we can advise on and that we can manage so as to deliver the service to your needs. So finally, I think, I'll just give you some Examus facts and figures, some Examus numbers. Right now, we are supporting more than 300,000 exams per month, and we have over 300 customers with end customers from 120 countries. And again, this pool is expanding. So we are providing services to different kinds of organizations, and should you like to see more references, or if you would like to know more about our company and the way that we work with end customers or with our partners, please feel free to reach out to us either by our website or by requesting any kind of references from us directly. So thank you for the attention, and welcome with your questions. Thanks again for the time that you have devoted to me, and I'm here to answer, to give you any more details about the service. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elena. We were here with Elena Essiak from Examus International Sales. I just have to say that this is a very interesting technology. Personally, we have received a lot of interest from our clients, but we also have some concerns or some worries about this technology. I think most of them you already tackled them on your presentation. But I just wanted to emphasize one element, and is the difference between face detection and face recognition, right? So correct me if I'm wrong, please, Elena, but the fact that you have the system telling you if you look to one side or another does not mean that the system will know who you are or will tell who you are. Is that right?
Yes, thank you for this clarification. That's really, this is something which is extremely important, but Examus can do both, actually. So when it comes to face detection and analyzing exactly the way that the person is looking and where they are looking, yeah, and how concentrated they are, because apart from proctoring, we have some other products which are more focused on actually analyzing user engagement. So we can do the detection and the identification both. So it just refers to different components of the system. So when it comes to monitoring the exam procedure, we are more talking about face detection, of course, because this is the facial expressions or particular movements of the face that are being detected, like when the person's talking, on where they're looking away, and so on and so forth. So this refers to exam monitoring. And the face detection is something that we can do, which the AI is taught to do, but it is not, let's say, the basic part of the functionality of the system itself. I think it is more relevant to the biometric identification that I mentioned. So if this biometric identification option is chosen by the customer, in this case, what Examus AI can do is really detect the face and automatically compare the face image with the ID, with the image on the ID card and the information which is stored in the database. So I would put it this way, that face detection is one of the basic parts of the functionality, which refers to the exams, and the face identification is another feature that can be provided. Yeah, but this is not something that is done as continuously, let's say, as part of the exam process.
Okay, thank you so much, Elena. Another common concern that we face, maybe a little misinformed, is the idea that a technology like this would mean that a teacher would not be necessary, or a proctor in this case. So that Examus, some people think that if you put Examus in a system, Examus will determine who did right, who did wrong, and will determine the test. So again, you also mentioned that this is not the case, but I think it's important if you would emphasize that Examus and these types of technologies are not meant to replace the teacher or the proctor.
No, by no means. You see, as I mentioned, it really depends on the understanding that the client has, because we do have customers who would tell us that they do not need any human involvement. They would tell us that, we're running like millions of exams per month, and we do not need any human assistance. So there will be nobody to check these recordings or monitor the students in real time. So, and they would really choose the automated version. And we can provide our solution only as the AI part, which is again configurable. And you can achieve, let's say, more precision and more accuracy when you configure the exam rules or the user behaviors. So the answer is that if you trust the AI so much that you would rely on only AI work, you can, of course. But as I mentioned, what we recommend is always making the right balance between the AI-based thing, which is to simplify the human work, and which is to make it really easier for teachers, for exam admins, to monitor the process. But this is not something which you can do solely by AI, and it's always better to use either post review or real time, depending on what kind of exam you have. Because if you are looking for maximum control over what is going on in the exam, of course, real time monitoring is the best option. But this is something which is very, it's a great effort, and it's a great training that you need to make for your employees, for your teachers, and so on. Yeah, so you need to understand whether this is the option that you would need to go for. But actually, the answer to your question is that, in our opinion, having good combination and having good balance between human involvement and using AI functions, this is what we need, and this is what we are looking for, because there is no way that the technology will rule out the human effort and the human work. I can tell you millions of situations when the AI would go wrong, and this would be something that this would be even ridiculous sometimes. Yeah, but it will not grant you the positive, the good result, the good accuracy of the result, and just positive experience of using the service.
Yeah, that's right, and I hope this is comforting news for many people, especially those who believe in Moodle and the values, because Moodle is meant to empower teachers always, never to think that you can run a successful learning experience without any teacher, any person. What you mentioned about the importance of having people, the teachers or the people who are taking care of the testing, to have this idea, I think is very important. And we do have a couple of questions about sort of this relationship, if you could get a bit more into detail. So we start with a question from Jonathan Bona on Facebook. And by the way, we're still answering all of your questions. If you're watching it live, please leave them your questions, your comments. If you're watching this recorded, we still get your questions, so please feel free to go ahead. So Sir Jonathan Bona, he asked, how does the ratio of test taker to proctor work? Does it have to be 1-to-1, or what is the range
thank you.
during a live
Thanks
test?
For the question. Perfectly understood. So there is. Let me put it this way. If you can provide it with your own organization or with the with some other proctoring team use. So if you can provide it as 1-for-1, then it would be probably the best way, of course. But in real life, it never works this way. So the recommended ratio for students per proctor that we have is, 9 or 10 students per proctor. Well, at least not more, because I think you do understand that having real time, you need to be monitoring several people, and you need to be attentive to all the AI Proctor alerts created for all of them at the same time. So just as not to lose the benefits of the real-time mode, we recommend to stick to this ratio of 9 or 10 students in the maximum per one proctor. Let me point out that this is not a limitation. This is not a technical limitation of the system. We have customers who go up to 20 students per one proctor. But this is something that is difficult to manage. And this is something that actually reduces the control that you have over what is going on. So that is why, in our opinion, the way that it works best is at least, the ratio that I recommended.
Yeah, of course. Again, the human is very important in this equation of the proctoring. We have a couple of questions from Sir Ryan Gonzaga from YouTube. Is if the taker, the proctor, will that person be able to be audited, maybe by someone else? Maybe not necessarily live on the exam, but afterwards. And I guess related to that, I had this question or this wondering while you were speaking, and is if a student is not satisfied with the outcome of the exam, maybe it says that it was using a cell phone when they weren't. What would be the recourse in that case? Does Examus allow for auditing, revision, or of a given outcome?
Of course. Well, first of all, it is covered by the per session report, which I shared just, momentarily, but it is something that usually has, it's more extensive, So if there is a case of an argument between a student passing a proctored exam and not satisfied with the result, it's a typical thing, of course. And again, service-wise, we understand that the users, the students, have full right to have this argument. So what we can provide them with is, first of all, the session report where all the events are detected. So if there is this case of phone usage, for example, yes, you can provide the session report with the times of when this particular event has happened. If there is a case when the user would ask for visual evidence, what you can do is you can make a screenshot, for example, from the post-review recording that I have shown you. And so you can just show them this particular moment when they use the phone. So if you have visual evidence, this always works best. So you can prove that it's not something that the proctor just looked at, it's something that has been recorded by the system. And finally, let's say if the argument is just too big, so there is this division of roles in the system. If the proctor was not correct, let's assume that maybe they were biased Yeah, and or maybe they just did not get correctly what was going on. Like again, there is this thin line between incident and accident, and you have a little sibling just accidentally rushing to the room and looking in the user's computer if they're taking exam from home. Yeah, well, but the AI will not be able to diversify between like what is a real instance of cheating and what is something that is done unintentionally, excuse me. So that is why if there is this argument which involves some proctor's actions which were not correct, what you can do is you can review your proctor activity. So I mean not Cyberproctor, but the human proctor. So you can have like first line of AI-based judgment, then you have human-based judgment, but then as an exam admin, you can review what your proctors, what your human invigilators were doing. And in case there was something that might be not regulated by the procedure, if the proctor was not correct with their judgment, this is something that you can track and you can handle. Because like if we're talking about real-time monitoring, and all the messages that the human proctor sends are also recorded. And all the actions of the human proctor during the exam are also being recorded and tracked. So actually there are multiple ways that you can handle any kind of incidents. You just need to investigate. It takes time, of course, but we appreciate that because Examus is, as we just propose it as a solution that is always on the user side, be it a teacher or a student. This is a tool. This is not something that controls your behavior. This is something that you can use to be more sure that something is being controlled.
Yeah, thank you for that, Elena. And I think that really shows an evolution of the thinking in the space of proctoring, that given that it's now in the user, it's a tool that creates data, whether it's visual or any kind of evidence for what happened during an examination. And that's information that is not necessarily, or it doesn't have to be used for the control of the taker, but also for the user,
Sure.
for all these cases that you showed. And I would actually, I would like to focus a little bit on something that you mentioned about how it behaves and how these technologies behave in some cases. A couple of years ago, there have been some concerns because, for example, a tool like this that is recognizing a face, if the lighting is not good enough, it might affect negatively maybe someone with a darker skin or maybe some condition or even a disability. So I would like your thoughts on that. And that's related to the last question from Sir Ryan again. And is it how does this algorithm, these detection tools evolve? Do they get smarter? Do they use the data that's happening from the proctoring sessions?
Yeah, well, first of all, of course, this is something that is always in development. Our AI is always evolving, and I can say that looking from the company perspective, I believe this is something that we invest in the first place. So there are two primary areas of our involvement right now. So, and one is getting more precise AI and getting more precise and correct cheating score calculation, events detection, and so on and so forth. So this is one of our priorities. The other one is the service, again, so as to deliver the best service to the customer, regardless of their requirements and regardless of their geographical location and so on and so forth. Talking about the AI involvement, of course, this is a neural network. So AI is something that is being created to be taught, to be educated as well. And this is something that we do always, because operating in different regions, as you mentioned, we have learned and we have come across some more specific challenges. So when you get to the African continent, and when you need to deal with African American faces, for example, yes, you need to you need to add some more learning algorithms to your AI so as to make sure that the face detection works correctly. So we have been through that, and so this is not something I wouldn't say that we have done it and it's 100% perfect. Well, this would be this is a tall order that I will never make. Let me put it precisely and honestly, like this is something that we are working with all the time. Yeah, so the AI algorithms need to be taught. It needs to be the neural network needs to be educated all the time. So what we do is with each development stage, which each step of our agile development, we add new features. We check how the old features work. Sometimes we may do the complete overhaul of the whole thing from the technical point of view. Yeah, because we need it to work correctly and adequately. So as for the darker skin face detection, I can say that, well, again, our experience in different regions has shown us that we can support it. Yeah, we do that already. So we work with the we work with Latin American customers a great deal. We work with African customers quite a lot right now. So generally, let me say that it's not a problem for us. With the lightning, of course, this is something which is case-based. This is something that you should care for when you create when you explain to your users of how they should comply with the exam rules. Yes, if you have bad lighting in the room, it means that the Cyberproctor will be generating a lot of alerts, probably, because this is something that is not. This is something which is a procedural fault, I would say. So is it something that can be managed on the user side, either when you explain the procedure to them or when they go through exam rules. So one of the rules of using the system is like provide correct lighting in the room. Or as for using webcams, for example. So we are not very specific in terms of hardware that the student uses. Let's say we are almost hardware agnostic. Yeah, because again, in different regions, you have different availability of technology. And we have developed our mobile app, particularly for those regions and countries where you have less access to laptop, desktop, and those kind of, more developed devices. Sometimes the students would not have anything but their cell phone. That's why we have developed the mobile app recently. And again, speaking about like what level of hardware do you need to use Examus, we always try to stick to the minimum level. So the minimum level of like web camera resolution, the minimum allowed level of all kinds of specs of your hardware in terms of RAM, in terms of storage, and so on. So we try to keep it as minimum as possible, but without compromise to the service we provide. So I would not say that there are no limitations, and you can actually, yes, that exams would work flawlessly on any kind of computer. Again, this will not be true, of course. But we always try to keep it like as minimum as is possible to deliver the necessary quality of service.
Of course. Okay, this is great. I guess the one question that's always sort of mandatory to end is about the pricing. How do you get started? You mentioned there is a very generous trial for people, for organizations who really want to take a full use of this solution. And I don't know if you'd like to anticipate some thing about the partnership that we currently have that gives us some additional benefits and discounts to our clients. So, because I know there are some variables to consider when to give this pricing. So, of course, if you want more details, you're invited to set up a meeting with us. Here is all of our information. You can reach us out or directly to Elena. But what could you say in general terms about the pricing, how to get started with Examus in your proctoring, in your session?
Yes, of course. Well, as I mentioned, different pricing options apply depending on the scale of assessment, depending on what kind of client or customer we're dealing with. Because again, if we're working with state organizations, educational institutions, which are dependent on their own budget and which have a very complicated procurement procedures, our goal is, like let them get the best price that they can have, and so as to be competitive in terms of pricing compared to all the solutions. So we will strive to find a compromise between the budget and the real price of the solution that we have, because we can never sell it below the level of what we actually provide, and we know that we are a good solution. And let me put it this way. Everything depends on what is the amount of service that you need. So if we're talking about just a one-time event, be it an online competition or some project which is for just a one-time project for staff assessment, for example, that would involve several hundreds of users. In this case, we would use our basic software as a service or pay-as-you-go model, for example. It means that we are going to provide the service for a particular amount of exam hours, and then after this service is used, the customer would be invoiced for exactly this amount of service that they have had. Alternatively, if we're talking about education institutions who are planning their assessment for a yearly period, this would not be the best pricing plan for them, perhaps. So in this case, we would go either for an exam package or for another pricing option, which is like per year, per student, because sometimes they might not know how many exam hours they would need, but they know how many users they have. So in this case, we would work out the price based on the number of users. And if we are talking about platforms which are running exams on a daily or on a weekly basis, and this drives us to have a lot of exams that, are hardly, I would say, can be hardly put in numbers. In this case, we can even give an unlimited license. So it means that we can even dedicate a particular server installation within our stack for this large customer. And we will not run any count of exams they use. So we just know that this particular installation is only for their exams, and they are using it as an unlimited access with only covering the costs that we have for using this server. But let me point out that, let's say if we're not speaking about these millions of exams, the server support and the server storage is already part of the price. Yeah, so this is not that goes for an extra fee. This is something that Examus provides, let's say, as a boilerplate option.
Okay, excellent. And once again, I think we are of very similar minds, because we do have clients of all sizes, and at each scale, we find clients that are very cost conscious. And just like you mentioned, our policy is also to find the best solution. We are not interested in just selling things that our client is not going to use. We want to be really optimal about that. And I guess that is all for us for this webinar. Again, we invite you to reach out to us, to reach out to Elena, to learn more about what we can do for you, how you want to take this further. I also want to mention that we are still on this cycle of webinars. We have upcoming sessions that are very exciting. We have a WIRIS, which is a mathematical formula notation for STEM. So you want to learn how to improve your STEM skills and your STEM learning experience in the Moodle site. You should not miss the WIRIS session. And on July 14, we have a very special Q&A with our very own Chief Technology Officer, when we sort of open up our cloud and answer everything that you want to know about how we work internally. It's going to be very special, so I hope you all join us. Thank you again. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Elena.
Thank you very much, Christian. Thanks for making this happen. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you for your time, and thank everyone for your time. And we'll stay in touch. Please reach out to us, and I'll see you next time.